Happy Sabbath. Today is, let's see, what is the day? November 5, 2016. And we will continue on the signs. We're still at part, I guess it'll be part 5 now. But our sign is all the multiple signs that we've learned. Let's see. The signs, we've done this sign, this sign, this sign, this sign. There's several other signs we haven't gotten to, but today we're going to do, the sign of the siege, then also the sign of Sabbath. All right, and we'll see what we can get. I don't think we will get to the signs of the budding leaves of spring. Okay, all right. But first we will try to summarize a little bit. Let me go to let's see. Okay, that's where we were last. That's where we were last week. All right, the sign of the siege. Just to summarize. All right, let me move myself to the right here. Okay, remember what the sign of the siege is? It is the vision of Ezekiel, and he says, what? Get a tile. What do you do on a tile? Draw Jerusalem on it, right? And then lay siege upon it. Get an iron pan and build forts, build army and compass it and put a siege on it, and it shall be a sign unto you. And then you have to lie, right? You have to lie on one side and for 390 days, and the other side for 40 days. Okay, we did this last week. We just reviewed this. These are the 3 sieges. The siege of Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, and Zedekiah by Nebuchadnezzar, right? 3 sieges, all right. And at midnight, 5th day of the 4th month, year 592 BC, Ezekiel had a vision, and that's the vision that he had, right? The visions with wheel within the wheels, and the vision of the plain, and then he saw this vision about the siege of Jerusalem. That the siege of Jerusalem is going to happen when? It actually happened 587 siege. So he was here 592, 5 years ahead of time. He said the siege of Jerusalem is here. Okay, all right. And to understand this, you have to, there you go. That's the sign of the siege right there, right? 5 years before that, he was predicting that it's going to happen. And to understand the siege of Jerusalem, you also have to understand the line or the prophecies of Jeremiah. Jeremiah was saying that he's been prophesying since the 13th year of Josiah. This is the first year he was prophesying, even until now, 23 years, that you are going to go to Babylon for 70 years, all right? Okay. This 13th year of Josiah started here, which is his 8th, he was 8 years old. That's his first year of Josiah. And he made a reformation. He broke the altars of Bethel, right? He broke the altar of Bethel, and then he also found the book within the what? Yeah, within the sanctuary that was being renovated, restored, right? And it was about 2520. And to understand 2520, you go back to Isaiah. Isaiah said to King Ahaz, if you do not believe, Pekah and Assyria is going to be defeated. But if you don't believe, you will not be established within 65 years. So 65 years, what happens in 65 years? Manasseh was taken captivity, right? But within 65 years, which is only 19 years later, Hoshea died and Israel was taken captive. So this is the beginning of 2524. Who? Israel. And this is the beginning of 2524 for Judah, right? Yeah, that's the prophecy of Isaiah. All right. Now this here is a fulfillment of a prophecy, Bethel. The renting of the altar is a fulfillment of the prophecy given at the time of Jeroboam by the disobedient prophet, right? Yeah. And he said that is a sign. That rent altar is a sign, right? So this is the sign right here. This is the sign, okay? You lie one side, 40, you lie the other, 390. This is where the sign is. Okay, 40 for Judah, 390 for Israel. Okay, all right. All these complicated lines are like the wheels within the wheels. And Ezekiel saw the wheels within the wheels at midnight. He saw it at midnight. All of these things became clear. Even though they were spinning, it all became clear, right? And obviously the prophecy of Daniel, he knew that he was going to have to go, well, the children of Israel is going to go back within a very short time, because he knew the prophecy of Jeremiah. Jeremiah said, you are going to have to go for 70 years. It was almost the time of Cyrus. And then he had to pray. What kind of prayer did he pray? And what kind of prayer did he have to pray? And Daniel 9, the prayer of 2520, right? Yeah. You know, please forgive our sins. Please forgive the sins of our fathers, right? And then that's how we are going to be gathered again. And how were they eventually all gathered again? You know, with the 3 decrees. And the third decree, Artaxerxes, the third decree of Artaxerxes, Ezra took that decree, and how many, well, he went out with, as a priest, he had to call out the Levites, and he had to also call out the Nethinims. So you realize this is the siege of Jerusalem is a sign. Now, why are there 3 sieges then? So there's got to be 3 signs, right? Because the siege of Jerusalem is a sign, and there's 3 sieges: Zedekiah, Jehoiachin, and the time of Daniel with his Joachim. Why are there 3 sieges? Because this is the siege for the priests, this is the siege for the Levites, and this is the siege for the Nethinims. And the siege is a sign of when your binding of time starts. You are going to be bound, right? Okay, that's where we ended last week. So we want to know about this a little bit more. The 5th day of the 4th month, and that's midnight. Okay, midnight right there. This is for our time. This is our line right here. 9/11, midnight, midnight cry, Sunday law. Obviously there's, and the universal Sunday law afterwards. Okay, the 5th day of the 4th month is midnight, and that is in Ezekiel 1 verse 1. And when you look at the calendar of them at that time, in the Julian calendar, it's actually July 21, 592 BC. The 5th day of the 4th month is actually July 21, 592 BC. Now look at this, it's July 21. What happened on July 21, 1844? Samuel Snow gave the, right, at Boston, the tabernacle, and that was midnight, right? It was midnight for them. Look at that. It's July 21. It's actually July 21 also. This is in the Julian calendar. This is in the Gregorian calendar. Midnight, July 21.
Midnight is July 2.
No, it's there's no more time prophecies after 1844. Yeah, so everybody's they're gonna all confess their sins on June. Oh, that's not good. No, it doesn't happen like that. Yeah. So the thing is that, you know, July 21, that's pretty amazing. Okay, so now we'll continue. And it came to, now Ezekiel 8. Now remember, at midnight, what happened at midnight with the other lines? Daniel was touched how many times between midnight and midnight cry? He had a marah vision. He was touched 3 times. Let's see. Samuel, he also had a marah vision, right? He was called by, and he thought it was Eli calling him how many times? 3 times. And then finally, the 4th time, he had a marah vision, right? He had a marah vision. Samuel. Let's see. What about Esther? Esther touched the scepter of the king on the 3rd day of fasting. So there's a 3 and between midnight and midnight cry. So we go, well, what about Ezekiel? Because Ezekiel had visions at midnight, and it was the marah vision of Chebar, the mareh vision of the plain, and where's he must have a 3rd vision. Where is the 3rd vision then? All right, here is the 3rd vision. Ezekiel 8. We know Ezekiel 8, right? Ezekiel 8 and 9. Oh yeah, we studied that a lot, right? The abominations. And it came to pass in the, okay, now 6th year, in the 6th month. Sorry, in the 5th day of the month. So which is this spring to spring or spring to spring or fall to fall? In the 6th year, in the 6th month, in the 5th day of the month. Did he say it is Jehoiachin's captivity? No. Yeah. He didn't say this is that captivity. If it's the captivity, it'll be fall to fall. But he says, he does not say it, so this is in the spring. All right. As I sat in mine house, and the elders of Judah sat before me, like that the hand of the Lord fell there upon me. Then I beheld, and lo, a likeness as the appearance, which is mareh, the mareh of fire, and the mareh of his loins, even downward, fire, and from his loins even upward, as the mareh of brightness, as the color of amber. So he had a mareh, so he saw Jesus. All right, she saw Jesus. This is the 6th year, so we gotta go here. Where's the 6th year? Oh, he's gotta be Zedekiah. Okay, 6th year right here, right? And then where? 6 months. Okay, 6 months would be, yeah, it would be somewhere here. So it's got to be 591 here. Okay, right? The 6th day of the 5th month. 6 months. Oh, I got this backwards. Yeah, I got this backwards. Oh, I gotta change that. But anyway, I got this backwards. It's actually the 6th day. The 5th day of the 6th month. I'm sorry, I have this backwards. But anyway, it's right here somewhere. It's 591. Okay. All right. What happened? And he put forth the form of a hand and took me by the lock of my head, and the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and the heaven, and brought me in the marah. Oh, so first he had a mareh, and then he had a marah. Yeah, he had a mareh and marah. He had a marah vision of God to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looked toward the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy that provoketh to. So he saw the seat of the image of jealousy on that day. According to the, now see, This marah vision is according to the vision, the mareh that he saw in the plain. See? So this marah vision is related to the vision in the plain. And the vision in the plain, when you go look at it, is related to the river, Chebar River. So these three visions are all related, right? And this is why he had three visions, you know. So Daniel was touched 3 times. Ezekiel had 3 visions, you know. All right. Then said he unto me, Son of man, lift up thine eyes now the way toward the north. So I lift up my eyes the way toward the north, and behold, northward at the gate of the altar, this image of jealousy in the entrance. And he said furthermore unto me, Son of man, seest thou what they do, even the great abominations that the house of Israel committeth here, that I should go far off from my sanctuary? But turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see other greater abominations. All right. So this abomination is the image of jealousy. So what is the image of jealousy? Yeah. What is the image of jealousy? Now, to see what is the image of jealousy is, you go to Exodus 20. Exodus 20, this is the first and the second commandment, right? Exodus 20, verse 2 to 5. I am the Lord thy God, which hath brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Okay? The first commandment is, thou shalt have no other gods before me. All right? Thou shalt not make any unto thee. Okay, that's the second commandment is, thou shalt not make unto any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or on earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a what? Jealous. A jealous God. So this is an image of jealousy. So this is an image against God. Right. Okay. Yeah, it said God is a jealous God. Now you make images against of God. How do you make images of God? Now, who was breaking this, doing this abomination? Who was doing this abomination? And in the Bible, there is only one king that is mentioned that makes a graven image and puts it in the sanctuary. It's in 1 Kings 21. 1 Kings 21 verse, well, it's Manasseh actually. Yeah. 1 Kings 21 verse 1 to 6. And Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 55 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hephzibah. And he did that which was evil. All right, we remember this. Yeah? He built up 1 Kings 21.
It's about Ahab and Jezebel.
Oh, no, 2 Kings. It's got to be 2 Kings. Sorry. 2 Kings 21. Manasseh was 21. Yeah. And he built altars, verse 4. And he built altars in the house of the Lord, of which the Lord said, in Jerusalem will I put my name. And he built altars for all the host of heaven. Right? What did he do? Yeah, he broke thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou should not make any graven image of any likeness of any in heaven above. He made altars for the host of heaven. In the courts of the Lord. And he made his sons pass through the fire on observed times and enchantments, and dealt with familiar spirits and wizards. And he wrought much wickedness in the sight of the Lord, and he provoked him to anger. And this is what he did. In verse 7, and he set a graven image of the grove, and he made in the house. Image of the grove. So this is Baal worship, right? So who are the host of heaven that he made? Baal, Semiramis, and Tammuz. Right? Right. And he put it into the... He put the temple. He put it in the temple. Yeah, he actually put graven image of Baal in the temple. So he did the image of jealousy. The image of jealousy is the image of God in the temple, which, right, has spiritual Israel done this again? Oh boy, we know it has, all right. And then, okay, so that's the image of jealousy. Yeah? What's the second abomination? The secret places, right? What is secret places? The place where where Saul went, right? Into secret places. Why was it secret? He had to disguise themselves. Ahab had to disguise himself. Josiah had to disguise himself. Saul had to disguise himself, going to secret places. And what does secret places mean? Spiritualism. All right, spiritualism. Has spiritual Israel gone into spiritualism now? Spiritual. When was this? 9/11, right? In September 2001.
What is the verse?
Or Ezekiel 8. You keep going. That's probably Ezekiel 8, verse 5, 6, 7. Right? I'm not going to read that. We know this. Now, what's the third abomination? Weeping for Tammuz.
Christmas.
Yeah. Weeping for Tammuz is when they have a false latter rain, right? Like weeping is like rain, like tears drop is false latter rain. All right. And finally, the 25 men bowing down to the sun. So they eventually did Sunday worship. This corresponds to Manasseh. This corresponds to Jehoiakim. This one's to Jehoiachin, and this to Zedekiah. Right? These are the four kings that had direct dealings with Babylon. Right? I just realized that because Manasseh was captured by the Assyrians, but he was taken to Babylon, and then he returned. Obviously, Nebuchadnezzar came here, and here, but other kings did not have direct dealings with Babylon. Yeah, these four kings did, right? And they're the representative of the four generations, the last generation, right? Okay. So this is Ezekiel 8. We've done so many studies about this, right? This is just a quick summary. Okay. Yeah, just a quick review. Now we'll go to we remember Ezekiel 9 is about, what's Ezekiel 9? This destruction of Jerusalem. So we did Ezekiel 1, 2, 3. Now Ezekiel 4, 5, and 6. 4, 5, 6, and 7 is talking about the scattering and gathering of Israel. It's actually very similar to the words in Leviticus 26. All right. Okay, here in Ezekiel 20, as I live with the Lord, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out hand and with a fury poured out will I rule over you. I will bring you out from the people. I will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered with a mighty hand, with a stretched out arm, right? You're going to be gathered after you are scattered, right? Here you go, Ezekiel 20, you continue. Here, I will accept you with your sweet savor when I bring you out from the people and gather you out of the countries wherein ye have been scattered. So even though you are going to have to go to Babylon, you will be gathered again, right? You have broken the covenant. You have done all these four abominations, but if you repent, even in captivity, then you will be gathered again. Now, this is the language of Leviticus 26, right? Okay, here, Ezekiel 20, verse 19 to 23. I'm just going to read the highlights. I am the Lord your God. Walk in my statutes, keep my judgments and to do them, and hallow my Sabbath, that they shall be a sign between me and you, that ye may know that I am the Lord your God. Look at, what is the sign? Sabbath is a sign. Oh, there you go. There's another sign. So we have a siege of Jerusalem as a sign. What's another sign in Ezekiel? It's the Sabbath as a sign. So this is a study about signs. So we're going to study a little bit more about the sign of Sabbath, because it's mentioned in Ezekiel right here. You walk in my statutes and keep and hallow my Sabbath. And that Sabbath will be a sign, right? Exodus 20, you, your family, your servants, your cattle have to keep the sign, the Sabbath, right? All right. Leviticus 26. So this is the beginning of 25:20 here. Ye shall keep my Sabbaths, right? And reverence my sanctuary. I am the Lord that have brought thee out of Egypt. If ye walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, then I will give you rain. Oh, then I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the field shall yield her fruit. So if you keep the Sabbath, then you will get rain, right? And you will yield fruit. I am the Lord your God, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt. You keep going through here. It's essentially the same language. It's talking about the Sabbath, all right? Okay, so the Sabbath is a sign. It's a sign that you know your God and you do not have other gods, and you do not make graven image, and you do not take his name in vain, and you do all the other commandments, and because of that, the Sabbath is a sign that you keep those commandments, right? It's a sign. Yeah, but it's a sign and also a law. So the sign of the Sabbath is right, that you keep all these commandments. Yeah. You know, I like that. And when Ellen White actually went and actually saw they didn't know about the Sabbath, and she had a vision, and that she went into in heaven and saw into the most holy, and opened and saw the 10 commandments. Which one was lighted up? The fourth one. Yeah, the sign of the Sabbath, right? So the first 4 is the sign of your relationship to God, and that is what? That is signified by the Sabbath, which was established on the 7th day. And then the other 6 is the sign of, with you and man. And how is it signified by? What's the symbol of that? It's marriage.
The Sabbath and marriage.
Right.
The institution of God.
Right. So these are the institutions, you know. So the institutions are marriage and Sabbath. And were they given at Sinai to begin with? No.
We're given at the garden.
Before.
Yeah, they were given at the Garden of Eden on the 6th day and on the 7th day, right? Yeah. So those are the 2, right? The 2, and the 2 commandments. What was that? Matthew 22.
Matthew 22.
Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. This is the first great commandment. Love God. And the second is, love thy neighbor as thyself. See, this is about your neighbor. Right? These 2 commandments, he's not talking about 1 and 2. No, he's talking this and this. Right.
Kind of summarizes.
Right. That's the summary. Right. This is the Sabbath, and this is the marriage, the true marriage. That's the sign of Sabbath. But Sabbath is a lot more than just that.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot more than that. Okay. All right. Okay. Now we'll go into Ezekiel, some more into Ezekiel. We'll look at Ezekiel 7. Wherefore I will bring the worst of the heathen, and they shall possess their houses. I will also make the pomp of the strong to cease, and their holy places shall be defiled. What is the pomp of the strength?
To make the pomp of the strong.
It's like the excellency of your strength. Speak unto the house of Israel, thus saith the Lord of God, behold, I will profane my sanctuary, the excellency of your strength, the desire of your eyes. You know, your strength should be my sanctuary, my presence. My presence should be the excellency of your strength. But what happened? You don't keep the Sabbath.
Yeah.
You don't keep me as your God. And now your strength is what? Your kingdom. Right? The pomp of your strength is going to cease. That's the same thing, like, look at this one. And if ye will not yet for all this hearken unto me, then I will punish you 7 times more for your sins, and I will break the pride of your power. Right? You used to say that your excellency is the presence of God in your sanctuary. That's your strength. But now is your kingdom. So what's going to happen? I'm going to break your kingdom, because your pride of your power. And who was this talking about specifically? Yeah, this was Manasseh, right?
Oh.
Yeah, this was fulfilled by Manasseh, because he's the first king of Judah that was taken into captivity, right, by Assyria and gone to Babylon. The pride of the power was broken, right? Yeah.
Does it remind you also of Samson?
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Remember Samson?
Mm-hmm. He had to be.
Judges.
He had to, and then he was tied. Yeah, his pride of his power was. His pride should have been in his hair, but that was only a symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah, his pride should be the power which is God in him, but
He lose.
yeah, he lost it. Okay, Ezekiel 5 verse 17. So will I send upon you famine and evil beasts, and they shall bereave thee, and the pestilence and blood shall pass through thee. Oh, evil beast. This is pride of the power. Isn't that the same thing like this?
Yep.
And if ye walk contrary to me, I will not hearken unto you. I will bring you 7 times more plagues. I will send you wild beasts. Who's the wild beasts? The wild mercenaries, right? At the time of Jehoiakim, right? And he shall rob you of your children. Who's the children that was robbed at the time of Jehoiakim? Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So this is Jehoiakim, right? Yeah, this is the secret chambers. This is Manasseh. This is the what? The pride. I mean the image of jealousy, right? The image of jealousy. Manasseh, image of jealousy. That's 25:20, number 1. Jehoiakim is the secret chambers. That's 25:20, number 2. It's all also written in Ezekiel, right? Okay. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of your bread in Jerusalem. Oh, wow. Leviticus 26. This is the third 7 times. And I will bring you a sword upon you, and will avenge the quarrel of my covenant. And when ye are gathered together in your cities, I will send pestilence. And when I have broken the staff of your bread, exactly the same words. What is breaking the staff of bread? This is Jehoiachin. The staff is the ruling power. Jehoiachin was the last king that contributed his DNA to the inheritance of Jesus, right? Because the next king was Zedekiah. Zedekiah did not become a king in the line of Jesus. Jehoiachin was the last one. His staff was broken, right? Yeah. Then I will send you upon evil arrows of famine. I will break the staff of your bread, send you pestilence, bring you sword, right? All of this. Ezekiel 4, 5, all the same thing like Leviticus, right? Bring the sword. And here, the quarrel of the covenant, right? Quarrel of the covenant is when there's false prophets. False prophet giving false messages at the time of Jehoiachin, regarding Jehoiachin, right? They said, oh, Jehoiachin is going to come back in 2 years. When actually, oh, it's not, they're going to be there for 70 years. He says, oh, Jehoiachin is going to come back in 2 years. What is that? That's a false latter rain. As a false message being given, right? Jehoiachin. So that's weeping for Tammuz right there, right, Jill? Weeping for Tammuz. Therefore, the fathers shall eat the sons, and the sons shall eat their fathers. Ezekiel 5. Then I will walk you in contrary unto you also in fury. Will chastise you 7 times. And ye shall eat the flesh of your sons, and the flesh of your daughters shall ye eat, and cut down your images, cast your carcasses upon the carcass of your idols, make your cities waste, sanctuary made into desolation. The same language, images shall be broken, dead carcasses before their idols, and the cities shall be laid waste, and the high places shall be desolate. Altars may be laid waste, right? The same things happen, right? And this is Zedekiah. And there was a big famine at that time, and they had to, literally at that time, they actually had to eat their children. Mm-hmm. Right. Pretty amazing. But it's, I don't know, how's that spiritually? How's having to eat your children, even your family? Well, your family is going to, this is Sunday law, right? Because your family it is your family that is going to betray you, right? They're going to eat you, meaning they're going to betray you to the courts, right? Yeah. Okay. Leviticus 26 and continue. Why is it that all these things happen? And I will scatter you among the heathen and will draw out a sword after you. And your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. Then shall the land enjoy the Sabbath. Because the land has not been enjoying the rest. Right? So, you have to keep the Sabbath, what? Every 7 days. Right? Every 7 days. What about your land? Your land has to keep the Sabbath every 7 years. God makes it simple. There's no such thing as trying to figure out by the moon or the stars. No, it's every 7 days, every 7 years, right? And it's called the what? The land, the rest, the release, the Shemittah, right? Shemittah. The land, and then shall the land rest and enjoy her Sabbath. As long as it lieth desolate, it shall rest, because it did not rest in your Sabbath when you dwelt upon it. Right? What is Shemittah? Shemittah is the release. We'll go through the release here. Right? No. Shemittah is every 7 years. Every 7 years is Shemittah. The 7th year is Shemittah.
The last one was 2015?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. The Shemittah is every 7 years. Now the Jubilee is every 50th year. Right. So you count 49. Okay, so the cycle goes like this. 7, 14, 21, all the way to 49. And what happened on the 50th? Jill, what happened is the Jubilee. So the Jubilee is the what? Is the 50th year. But does it change the cycle of sevens? No, it keeps on going. Every 7 years goes. So the 50th year is actually still 49 years from the last one. Right? So it does not make it longer. Right? So the 50th year is still the first year of that weekly cycle. Right?
What do the Jews do now in Shemittah and Jubilee?
They release. Well, it's only Jerusalem really that.
I don't know. I don't know what do they do.
It seems I read about that last year.
They're not.
No,
They're certainly not getting rid of their debt. I mean, their creditors.
their
They still chase your credit.
Yeah.
They're bankers. Are you kidding? They're gonna give away their.
It's just like, like party. They're just doing the party, just like
I don't know.
spiritual Israel.
Right. Yeah. So this is because your land does not keep your. So your land has to keep the Sabbath, right? Your credit has to keep the Sabbath also. Because what happens? You release your credit. Somebody has a debt to you, you release that credit.
You're kidding me? Yeah, the Jews.
Do you think that will happen now? Every 7 years?
Yeah, the Jews.
What about if you have a slave?
You should.
You release the slave, right? Like what I did yesterday, I gave you a wrong thing. That they release a Hebrew slave every 7 years on the Shemittah, right? But they release the Gentile slaves at the Jubilee,
Yeah. Yes.
at the 50th year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the Hebrew slave has better privilege, They only have to be a slave for 7 years. Right. Okay. Now, not that we're going to read the whole thing here, but this is from the story of Jeremiah.
If you will not hearken.
Jeremiah was seeing that the people in that time was not keeping Sabbath. Why? They were going to the gates of Jerusalem and they were trading with the traders, right? The traders would come to the gate,
Doing business.
right? Yeah, and at the gate they were trading, right? And here it says, and it shall come to pass if you diligently hearken unto me, saith the Lord, to bring in no burden through the gates on this day, on the Sabbath day, but hallow the Sabbath day, to do no work therein, then shall there enter into the gates of this city kings and princes sitting upon the throne of David. So if your gates keep the Sabbath, then the king will come through it. But if your gates do not keep the Sabbath, right, I will kindle a fire in the gates thereof. I'm going to burn the gates, right? So even your gates have to keep the Sabbath.
Still
Wow.
part of your property.
Yeah, yeah.
Close it.
Wow. So they were not keeping the Sabbath, right? Okay. So now we go back to the sign of the siege. What this has to do with the Sabbath, okay?
Very much so.
Yeah. So remember, sign of the siege
It's a pan.
and a pan, right?
What's that
This-
pan for?
It's an iron pan. It's an iron that. So this iron pan goes around it actually, and it sets a siege. An iron is a.
That's be a pretty big pan then.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a
just
small
the
pan.
Yeah, I know. If I had a big pan, I'll cover the whole picture. Then I should put this thing in the pan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Inside the pan, yeah.
yeah,
Cast iron pan.
yeah. Cast iron pan. Right, but it's an iron pan. Iron is symbolic for oppression.
Suppression.
Yeah, servitude.
Remember
Right.
the Iron Curtain?
Right. Okay, now we go back to some lines here, right? The siege of Jerusalem, Daniel. This is the siege of when Daniel was taken captivity. The siege of Jehoiakim. The siege of Jehoiachin. All right. So we'll go to the siege now of Zedekiah. It's in Jeremiah 52, verse 3 to 7. For through the anger of the Lord it came to pass in Jerusalem and Judah, till he had cast them out of his presence, that Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. Oh, you know what? He was set up here as the king, and he is supposed to be a good puppet king, but he rebelled, right? And it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month. All right? Okay, where is that then? The 9th year of his reign. Whose reign?
Zedekiah.
Zedekiah, right? Zedekiah right
It's
here.
right there.
So it's 9th right?
Five,
So this is spring to spring, right?
spring.
It specifically says it's Zedekiah's reign. Ninth year in the 10th month in the 10th day. So somewhere here.
So it's
It's
588.
Okay. Actually, it turns out it's 587.
587.
Yeah, it's a very early in 587. Right. In the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar came. He came, and what did he do? He pitched against it and built forts against it. It's like putting an iron pan, right?
Yeah,
So this is the sign, right? This is the siege. Okay, so we locate that according to Jeremiah. It's here. So the city was besieged unto the 11th year of King Zedekiah. So until the 11th year.
So
From the
almost
9th.
2 years.
No, you have to look here very closely. Look at the 9th. When? In the 4th month, in the 9th day of the month. Okay, the 4th month, so kind of early here. In the 9th day, it will be somewhere here.
1 year and a half.
Yeah, it's right there. I didn't put it down here, but it'll be too crowded. So from the 10th month of this, the 9th year, to the 4th month of the 11th year, and that is how many months?
4 months of the 9th to the 10th.
Well, this is 12 right here. This is 2 and this is 4. So 2 plus 12
18.
plus 4, 18.
Yeah.
This is a year and a half, right?
Yeah.
So that's why in the Bible it says, oh, you know what? According to the Bible, it's like, when you go on the internet, it says, well, according to the Bible, it's like either a year and a half or 2.5 years. We're really not sure, but this is so clear. Right here, it's 18 months. Right in Jeremiah.
Yeah.
The problem is that some chronologers, they go to Ezekiel, and Ezekiel 24.
Yeah. And they just.
And then again in the 9th year, and they go, wait a minute, in the 9th year, Ezekiel, now they're talking about Ezekiel. It's got to be fall to fall because Ezekiel was taken a time of, so they think it's fall to fall.
Yeah.
When you go fall to fall, remember what happens when you think it's fall to fall? You go back 1 year. So so some chronologers will put it here, year 588, thinking that it's 2.5 years. So if the siege is in 587, what happens to the prophecy of 390 and the prophecy of 40? It doesn't fit.
Yeah, it's not.
It has to be until 587. It'll fit. It won't fit if it's in 588.
So you said siege 587 is supposed to be 588?
It should be 587, right? It should be right here.
Started there.
But here, some chronologers, they got it wrong. They go the 10th month of the 9th year. They look up here. Oh, the 10th month up here, it turns out here. When they look, they think it's Jehoiachin, right? If they just look at this specifically, and they don't know that when Ezekiel's talking, and he doesn't say the captivity of Jehoiachin, right? So some of the chronologers will get it confused. But we don't have to be confused now, because now we know the rules, right? And it's not confused, because it's actually 18 months. All right. Okay. So, and the wall is breached right here, right? Wall is breached, and then again in the 9th month, 10th. Okay. So what happened at the time of the siege? All right. This is pretty scary when you read this. Lamentations 4. Even the sea monsters draw out the breast; they give suck to their young ones. The daughter of my people is become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness. The tongue of the sucking child cleaveth to the roof of his mouth for thirst. The young children ask for bread, and no man breaketh it unto them. That they did feed delicately are desolate in the streets, and they are brought up in scarlet and braced dunghills. Their visage is blacker than a coal, and they are not known in the streets. Their skin cleaveth to their bones, it is withered, it is become like a stick.
Wow.
They that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. It's better to die. For those pine away, stricken, though for want of the fruits of the field. The hands of the pitiful women have sodden their own children. They were their meat in the destruction of the daughters of my people. Oh. The Lord hath accomplished his fury. He hath poured out his fierce anger, and he hath kindled a fire in Zion, and hath devoured the foundations thereof. And the kings of the earth and all the inhabitants of the world would not have believed that the adversary and the enemy should have entered the gates of Jerusalem. This is lamentation. This is Jeremiah, right? Yeah, this Jeremiah was saying. What happened at this time, Ellen White made a comment at the time of that siege of Zedekiah. They hid the ark in a cave, and it's never been found until now. And the ark is the what? What is the ark the symbol of? The presence of God, right? Yeah. Because at the time of the siege, it's when the wife of Ezekiel dies, right? The church dies. The presence of it's
God is gone.
So there's a closing of probation too at that time. Yeah. This is pretty amazing. When you read this, wow. And this is going to happen again because what happened then will happen again. Okay. Now we'll go to 2 Kings 25. So they took the king and brought him up. Now this is talking about Zedekiah. They took him up to the king of Babylon at Riblah. And they gave judgment unto him, and they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him in fetters of brass, and carried him to Babylon. And in the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, which is the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, all right. The 19th year, okay, this is Nebuchadnezzar right here. Right? We go 19th year right here.
Okay, 586.
586. In the 5th month, in the 7th, so it's got to be the 5th month, kind of like in the middle right here. Okay. It's when Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, came unto Jerusalem. And then he will burn the house of the Lord and the king's house and all the houses of Jerusalem, and then he will burn. But this is when Nebuzaradan will come right here in the 19th, the 7th day of the 5th month. Okay, right. 7th day of the 5th month, and then he will come and then he will burn it, right? Okay, so we'll put it right here. 586 is when they will eventually burn. No, because here says it's the 19th year of Nebuchadnezzar. It's not talking about Zedekiah. So this is why when you go with the chronology, you have to be very careful. Okay, so now we'll see the summaries now. Okay, summaries of. Now we'll see the 70 years of what happens during the time of Zedekiah. All these 70 years. We've done this before, but we'll now know what happens of all the 70 years that is associated with the 3 sieges. The siege of Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, and Zedekiah. First, we got to start even as back as Saul. In 1097, Saul became the first king. For 490 years, there's a lot of kings until the king of Jehoiakim was taken captive and Daniel was taken away, right? From there on, this is 490 years, 1097 until 607, right? This is the first captives that had to go. Remember Manasseh, he had to go, but what happened to him? He came back. So the first ones that had to actually go was at the time of Jehoiakim, which was Daniel. All right? And that's 7 times 70, right?
Yeah, 490.
490 is 7 times 70. Now Manasseh, to the time of Daniel, is 70 years also. And this is the probation. that was given to them, but they did not repent, right? So they had to go at the time of Daniel. Who took them was Babylon. Babylon defeated Assyria in 609. And his reign was for 70 years also. Because at the end of 70 years, at the time of Belshazzar, was defeated by Nabonidus, and Belshazzar was defeated by Cyrus. 539, that's 70 years, right? Right, that's 70 years. This is the year of, this is the reign of the king. 70 years. Tyrus is going to be forgotten for 70 years, right? The reign of one king, right? This is the year. This is the reign of Tyrus, for how long Tyrus is going to be forgotten. But anyway, that's jumping ahead. That's
the other.
yeah, that's another study. Okay. Now, how long did Daniel and Judah had to suffer because of the 490 years that they did not let the land rest?
70 years.
So here is the land resting for 70 years. Here's the land resting for 70 years. Because at this time, at the end here, Cyrus gave a decree saying that now you can go back to your land. So now the land has rested for 70 years because it had not rested for 490 years. Now it rested, right? Cyrus' decree.
Some of them actually went back.
Yeah, only a few went back, yeah. Not that many actually. Now this is Jehoiachin. Jehoiachin, the walls and the city was devastated at the time of Jehoiachin. All right? And 2 times 70 years later, at the time of Artaxerxes, the third decree for the time for Ezra to go back and rebuild the what? The walls and the city. So here the walls and the city had to rest for 2 times 70. Here the temple had to rest, the land had to rest for 70. The walls and the city had to rest for 2 times 70. I guess the gates also, you can say the gates.
Why 140 years have to rest?
Right, because another reason why is what Jehoiachin. What happened is, what lines up at Jehoiachin? Midnight cry. There's a doubling at midnight cry. Right? There's a doubling. Look at this, 140. Yeah. Right? So yeah, we did this before. And then this is Zedekiah. Zedekiah's, what had to rest? Because the temple was burned. So the temple had to rest for 70 years until 516. And at the time of Darius says, okay, continue. Because at the time of false Smyrna, the rebuilding of the temple stopped. Right here. And Darius made a decree around 517 for the temple rebuilding to continue. And it was finished being rebuilt in 516. 70 years after it rested. So this is the rest of the temple, the rest of the city and the walls and the gates and the streets, right? And this is the rest for the land. 2 times 70, 1 times 70, 1 times 70, 1 times 70, 7 times 70, right? All those 70s? 5,
6, 7.
Right, yeah. So there's 3 sieges, 3 rests, right? Okay.
That's 25 times.
Right, all this is talking about this here, this concept right here is 2520, right? Okay. Where are we with time? Okay. All right, now what happened to Jeremiah? Remember, Jeremiah was here, he says, I have been preaching to you for 23 years. So Jeremiah was preaching even from here. And what happened to Jeremiah during the time of the siege? All right. He was actually in the city. He was actually in the city. But then he escaped out of the city, and he escaped, but then he was caught and brought back. And after he was caught and brought back, what was happened to him? He was thrown in the dungeon, right? Right. And eventually, what happened to him after the city fell? Now Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, gave charge concerning Jeremiah to Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard. See, Nebuzaradan is the one that burned the city. Take him and look well to him, and do him no harm, but do unto him even as he shall say unto thee. So Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, sent Nebuchadnezzar, Rabsaris, Nergal-Sharezer, Ragmag, and all the kings of Babylon princes. Even they sent and took Jeremiah out of the court of the prison and committed him unto Gedaliah. Gedaliah was the governor that was appointed by Nebuchadnezzar to become the governor of Jerusalem. So he escaped the famine. And what happened to him? Zedekiah fed him every day bread.
What's Zedekiah?
Actually, Zedekiah. Zedekiah was the king right here.
He was the prophet.
Yeah, Zedekiah was the king at that time, remember? During the siege. So he was in prison, and Zedekiah says, oh, what is the Lord trying to say to us? And Jeremiah says, submit to Nebuchadnezzar. Submit. You will have to be taken. But Zedekiah was too proud now. He said, it's too late now, because I do not want to be mocked when I go to be taken to Babylon by the captives there. The captives are going to mock me. And if I actually concede that you are right all along, they're going to laugh at me. So it was because of his pride that he actually did not submit. All right. But the point is, Jeremiah, this 40 years is the life of Jeremiah. This is one generation, right? This is the generation of Jeremiah. What happens to Jeremiah? He stayed in the city. Oh.
So what is the lesson for us now?
He's not a priest.
Right. This is actually very important. So even if you're stuck in the city, you may be saved. You still may be saved, but you won't be out in this. God will still save you, but you're probably going to die in the city. Right? But you still may be saved. Right? Yeah. There may be some people who are still stuck in the city, maybe, but they're going to die in the city. Right?
So they're going to be like
They'll still
martyrs?
suffer. They'll still suffer that.
Mm-hmm. They're going to suffer in the prisons.
So those are
If
like the
you-
martyrs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
but Jeremiah is not martyr.
I know, but I'm saying for the people that end up stuck in the
Yeah, because so from here you realize that there's some people that are going to be stuck in the city, and something's going to happen to them. But the Lord still has a providence. Has a plan for them, right? Yeah, He already said you have to run out. Okay. Okay, let's see. Now Ezekiel 24, or verse 1 to 2.
In the 10th month.
Again, in the 9th year, in the 10th month,
And it doesn't say who.
No.
in the 10th day of the month. Okay, who's this? Ezekiel, right? Where's Ezekiel in Babylon? Now it says, in the 9th year, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying. So he's talking about what? Spring to spring, right? Yeah. Son of man, write thee the name of the day, even of this same day. The king of Babylon has set himself against Jerusalem this same day. Now Jerusalem is now being sieged on this day. Okay, this is the 9th year, right? It's got to be around 9th year right here. In the 10th month of the 10th day, right here. That's the same, right? The beginning of the siege, right? Yeah. That's the beginning of the siege. Remember 587, very early, right? The 10th day of the 10th month. That's the siege. Okay? Now remember, he's in Babylon. So the Lord said, okay, right now, what's happening in what? In Jerusalem, write this down. Jerusalem is now being sieged. All right? Okay. 2 Kings. And it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came. Right? The same thing. Right? So the siege starts on the 10th month, in the 10th day, in the 9th year of his reign, because this is Nebuchadnezzar's. Oh, this is the 9th year of, this is Zedekiah, that Nebuchadnezzar came against Zedekiah. All right. Okay. Then Pharaoh's army was come forth out of Egypt. And when the Chaldeans that besieged Jerusalem heard tidings of them, they departed from Jerusalem.
Oh, okay.
Oh, what happened after the siege?
They left because
There's tidings. What does tidings mean?
good news.
News. The news of what? Egypt coming. Okay. So what happened to the siege?
It stopped.
The siege stopped because they departed from Jerusalem. So they had to now deal with Pharaoh. Right? Yeah. And it came to pass that when the army of the Chaldeans was broken up from Jerusalem, the fear for Pharaoh's army, then Jeremiah went forth out of Jerusalem to go unto the land of Benjamin. See, this is when Jeremiah escaped. When did Jeremiah escape? When the siege stopped. Does this sound familiar? Does this sound familiar?
Yeah, abomination.
Abomination of desolation. This is like Cestius.
Cestius, yeah.
What did Jesus say? When you see the abomination encompass, when you see it being encompassed and suddenly you can escape. Wait a minute, how can I escape when they encompass? Because Cestius suddenly, for some reason, go away. Now why did Nebuchadnezzar suddenly take away the siege? Because tidings and the fear.
So that means Pharaoh's army.
Now this is very, very important. Right. Tidings from from the north and tidings from the east. Right. Right. It's going to be tidings from the north. Right. It's going to be tidings from the north and tidings from the east. Shall trouble the king. Right. It's trouble the king. The king of the north will be troubled. Right. Yeah. So this here, we'll go into this a little bit more, but we'll see, we'll compare this to the Cestius. But this right here is, remember, this is the third siege. So when you see this third siege, the third siege is actually split up. There's a beginning siege, it stops, and it starts again, right? So why did it stop? Because they heard of tidings of the Pharaoh. Now when you hear Pharaoh, and you go, wait, is Pharaoh for some reason connected with Ishmael? Yes. Yeah, because the mother of Ishmael is who? Hagar, which is Egypt.
Egyptian, yeah.
Right. There you go. That's the connection. Right. So for some reason, they're going to be distracted. Cestius is going to come. He's going to be distracted. He's going to be troubled because of the tidings of the east. Right? Right. Yeah, here you go. Very familiar.
You don't have question.
No, just like tidings, it just means
Warnings.
warning.
News.
Like, you hear like good tidings. I guess you can
It's
use
a
it,
bad
it depends
tiding.
on if the context.
Right, because the tidings will bother him and he'll fear. Right, he will fear the tidings from the east. All right, the king of the north is actually going to fear the tidings that come from the north and come from the east. Right, but that's Daniel 11. All right, foremost among those who were rapidly leading the nation to ruin was Zedekiah their king. forsaking utterly the counsels the Lord has given through the prophets, forgetting the debt of gratitude he owed Nebuchadnezzar, violating his solemn oath of allegiance taken in the name of the Lord God of Israel. Judah's king rebelled against the prophets, against his benefactor, which is Nebuchadnezzar, and against his God. In the vanity of his own wisdom, he turned for help to the ancient enemy of Israel's prosperity, sending his ambassadors to Egypt that they might give him horses and much people. So Pharaoh came and wanted to help, and so it troubled Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar is king of the north, right? All right. So what happened? This is very important because this is going to happen again.
It is very important.
When the king of Babylon's army fought against Jerusalem, against all the cities of Judah that were left, Lachish and Azekah, and these defense cities remained the city of Judah. This is the word that came unto Jeremiah from the Lord after the king Zedekiah had made a covenant with all the people which were at Jerusalem to proclaim liberty. Oh. So now what happens? The siege has stopped. What happened after the siege has stopped? Now Zedekiah gives liberty. When do you give liberty to the slaves? During Shemittah. So this is Shemittah. Now this, you will have to see that this will line up with Shemittah. Okay? So because he's going to proclaim liberty unto the people, that every man should let his manservant, right? And every man his maidservant, being a Hebrew or a Hebrewess. Okay. This is Shemittah because this is the Hebrew servant is going to be let go. That none should serve himself or them of a Jew of his brother. Now when all the princes and all the people which had entered into covenant heard that everyone should let the manservant and every one of his maidservant go free, that none should serve themselves of them anymore, then they obeyed and let them go. But afterward they returned and caused the servant and the handmaids whom they had let go to return, and brought them into subjections for servants and for handmaids. Wait a minute. What have they just done? They broke the Shemittah. They broke the Sabbath covenant. Because isn't this a covenant? This is a Sabbath covenant. Right? So what does that mean?
So what happened?
The children of Israel are going to break the Sabbath covenant.
Some will.
So you see, you have to take the concept here, huh? Right? The Sabbath covenant is going to be broken during that time. Okay, so we see here. Okay, here is the beginning of the siege, right? We established that together already, and Pharaoh is going to come. So the siege is going to be lifted. But what happens here? The Sabbath covenant is broken here. They're going to break the Sabbath covenant right here, even though they know that this is their doom right here. They still break their covenant, the Sabbath covenant. It is so amazing. They have been. You're going to have to go, you're going to do this. The king is going to do. They look at the king, and the king went away, and what did they do? They still break the covenant. So stiff-necked, right? So stiff-necked. Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, I made a covenant with your fathers in the day that I brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondmen, saying, at the end of 7 years, let ye go every man his brother a Hebrew, which has been sold unto thee, and when he hath served thee 6 years, then thou shalt let him go free, right? Right? To return, so you don't. But what if happens if you do not do this? You will become the slave, right? If you do not do this, you will become the slave, right? If you read this. And they broke it right here, right here. This is a Sabbath covenant. This is a Sabbath covenant. This is, where was this made? Okay, let's see that. This in Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 15, this is the one. This is the Shemittah. At the end of every 7 years, thou shalt make a release. A release is a Shemittah. When you look at the release,
Yeah.
it's a Shemittah.
Yeah.
Every 7 years you will make a release. What do you make a release? See, the Lord's release. A Hebrew man and a Hebrew woman that is sold unto thee and have served 6 years, and in the 7th year you shall let them go. Right? Okay. That's a Shemittah. What they broke that. It's in Deuteronomy 15. So if somebody's talking about Shemittah, you know this. This is the Sabbath.
So it's 7 years again?
Right. Every 7 years. Every 7 years is a Shemittah. Right? That's when your land has to rest. When you have to let go your Hebrew slave. And actually you have to let go your debt.
That's right. The creditors.
Yeah.
But they don't. They're getting
Okay.
the Hebrew.
Therefore, thus saith the Lord, ye have not hearkened unto me in proclaiming liberty, every one to his brother and every man to his neighbor. See? Behold, I proclaim a liberty for you, says the Lord, to the sword. Oh, I'm going to give you liberty to the sword now, to the pestilence and to the famine. And I will make you to be removed unto all the kingdoms of the earth. So you don't give liberty, now I'm going to give you liberty. Liberty to the sword, liberty to the pestilence, and liberty to the famine. And when did that happen? Right here. Because when do you give liberty? Now, when you count this, I put it green. This is a Shemittah. This is a cycle of 7. From the Passover until here. The 587 is a Shemittah year. On the first day of the 7th month is when you let go your slaves. Yeah, on the Shemittah day. On the Shemittah on a non-Jubilee year starts on the first day of the 7th month.
But if it's a
You
jubilee,
can't
it's in the
consider it
10th,
like a Sabbath
right?
though, right? Even though it's on the 7th. You can't consider it like a Sabbath, like a Shemitah.
Shemitah is a Sabbath year.
A Sabbath year.
It's a whole year. It's from here. This whole year is a Sabbath year.
For the land,
It's for the land. The land rests for a whole year.
For removing your slaves.
Everything, yeah.
Right. This whole year. So from here is a Shemitah. From here, they release their, so this, oh, sorry, it's from fall to fall. So this here. So from fall to fall. So this starts the Shemitah, it's 587, right? But 587 is when what Shemitah starts. So, but this is the Shemitah. All right.
So the second siege, then on the second, that other siege, they all died. I mean, there was a lot of...
Yeah, it was the destruction. The biggest destruction was also at the second siege, but it got even worse at the third siege. Okay, so here we go. This is the first day of the 7th month. This is when you,
Blow the trumpet.
on the Shemitah year, every 7 years, that's the blowing of the trumpets, the first day of the 7th month. That's when the blowing of the trumpets is on the first day of the 7th month is a Shemitah year. But when the blowing of the trumpets is on the 15th day, which is the Feast of Tabernacles, that's a Jubilee year. Right? Okay. This is going to be very important later. But this is going to be important. You know, all these details, you say, wow, why do we need to know all these details? But anyway, it's going to be important later on. All right? We'll try to finish this thought right here about the Sabbath. Okay. Here is Josiah's Passover, and that was a Shemitah year. The following year was because this is the 49th, and this is the 50th. That's a Jubilee year. So you go 7. 7 is here. Another 7 goes to here. Another 7 goes to here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right here is 5. Now this is a Shemitah year. So the Hebrews were released on the first day of the 7th month. Right. They're right here.
I thought it was out in 6.
6 and 7. Right here is another Shemitah. This is the 49th year of the cycles of, right? So the following year is a Jubilee. Right? Now we'll go into this one later on here, but this is the Jubilee. This is a Jubilee year. This Jubilee year is 49 years after this year. You know, you got to be right 49 because it doesn't change the cycles. The cycle is the same. 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. It just keeps going. It's every 7 years. Every 7 years, right? So you keep the Sabbath every 7 days. Your land keeps the Sabbath every 7 years, right? It repeats. It continually repeats. Okay. All right. And it came to pass in the 11th year, in the first month of the 7th day of the month, that the word of the Lord came unto me, Son of man, I have broken the arm. So now, Pharaoh is broken. So they went and had to deal with Pharaoh, and what happened? They defeated Pharaoh. Okay. Behold, I will command, says the Lord, and cause them to return to the city. Oh, after they have dealt with Pharaoh, what happened? They came back again and besieged the city again. So the city was besieged here. They were troubled and had to deal with Pharaoh, and they came back again. So this is what? Cestius, and this is Titus. Right? Remember? Remember Cestius and Titus? That's the 70 AD. It's happening right here, actually, right in the middle of the third siege. Right? Because they started a siege, they broke it, and they continued again. Right? So Pharaoh, the 7th day of the first month, right? On the 11th year. So the 11th year. Yeah. Right? 11th year. You have to use Zedekiah here because it didn't say of the captivity. So you have to use the 11th year right here. Right? So right here was Pharaoh was broken. And then they came back and besieged the city again. Now we're going through this very slowly because this is the sequence of what is going to happen between midnight to midnight cry. The Lord is actually telling us this is what is going to happen. Wow. And the city was besieged unto the 11th year, of Zedekiah. On the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine prevailed, and there was no bread in the land for the people in the land. And then the city was broken, right? On the 9th day of the 4th month, there was famine, and the city was broken. So the walls were broken, right? In the 11th year of Zedekiah, in the 4th month, the 9th day of the month, the city was broken up. 4th month, 9th day. 4th month, 9th day. 11th year of Zedekiah. 11th year of Zedekiah, right? City was broken up. City was broken up. See, that's right there.
Line upon line.
Well, that's so we know that the city was broken up. It's going to be, remember Pharaoh is broken here, and then the city was broken. So the city was besieged until the 11th year, 4th month, 9th day, and the city was broken up, right? So the walls was breached. The city was broken up right here. So this the beginning of the siege. Pharaoh comes. They broke the Sabbath covenant. Pharaoh is defeated. They started the siege again, and the wall was breached right here. Okay. Wow. So detailed. It's very, very detailed because we know now exactly what's going to happen between midnight and midnight cry. In the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, which is the 19th year of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came Nebuzaradan. And then he's the one that's going to burn everything down, right? The 5th month, the 7th day. So when you read the Bible and you read all this 5th month, 7th day, 9th, what do you used to do? You just went right through them.
Let it go.
You just let go.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to let that go. We are not going to let that. We used to just just keep going.
We know what year it is.
Sweden though, and the better.
Right? You used to just you just skip skip that, right? He burned Nebuzaradan came and burnt the house of the Lord. And all the vessels of the house of God, great and small, treasure of the house of the Lord, and treasure of the king and the princess, all these were brought to Babylon. And they burnt the house of God and break down the wall of Jerusalem, right? Burnt all the palaces, destroyed all the goodly vessels. 7th day, 19th year, 5th month. Oh boy. Okay. Right. The 5th month, 10th day, 19th year. That's a different day. Okay, Nebuzaradan came, the wall was breached, the temple was burned, and the 10th day of the 5th month, the 19th year of Nebuchadnezzar, right? So this is the 7th day of the 1st month, 9th day of the 4th month, the wall was breached, 10th day of the 5th month, the temple was burned. Right? So you see all this put into a line, then you can see what is the sequence of what happens. And when you line up from the beginning of the siege until the temple was burned, it's 18 months. Year and a half. All right? So we'll do this next time, because we see that is the abomination of desolation. When Cestius comes, and then Titus comes. And that is the abomination of desolation. That is all happened in the time of what Ezekiel writes down, and all that, combining it together with what Jeremiah says, and put all that together, put all into the timeline. When you just meticulously just put down everyone, and you see exactly what is happening, that is going to tell you what is going to happen between the time of Cestius, and that's the abomination of desolation. And when we study the abomination of desolation, it has something to do with the signs of the budding leaves, right? Right? Because that's when Jesus said in one generation, and then the temple will be destroyed, right?
So there will be a release in our time?
Yeah, the release is they disobeyed the release.
Yeah.
What is the release is a what? It's a Sabbath rest.
Yeah.
They disobeyed the Sabbath rest. Right? They're going to start bowing down to the sun. Between midnight and midnight cry, they're already starting to bow down to the sun.
It sounds like there will be a release, but there's no release. Because
They're the ones that actually did not release. They're going to be released to the sword and the famine and the pestilence.
I know, but like, shit.
What was that?
Yeah, like the whole application with the, what is it called again? The shit
Shemitah?
Shemittah, yeah.
and stuff. Because like, how do we equate that? Like the whole thing with the slaves and.
Yeah, we see all of that. That is a Sabbath rest. That's a covenant that God made with Israel, saying every 7 days your slaves have to be released. It's about a Sabbath rest. That's a Sabbath rest. And what happened during that time? They broke the Sabbath rest, even when they knew they were being surrounded, and they had a chance for them to release. Because what happened? Jeremiah, he escaped during that time, right? And you know, between Cestius and Titus, that's when the people also escaped. The problem is that Jeremiah got caught. But those who escaped between the time of Cestius and Titus, they went all the way to Jordan and they didn't get caught and they were saved.
Yeah, the application for our time is, the Ten Commandments, the Sabbath, and the marriage and the Sabbath. That's
Yeah, they're going to break it. That's going to be broken. Because the Sabbath rest is going to be broken. Yeah. It's amazing because for people who actually know all of this, they're going to say, oh, this is the time that you have to keep the Sabbath rest.
right.
Instead, people are going to break the Sabbath rest during that time.
So nothing to do to go out to the country.
Oh, absolutely. This is when you run.
It's part of it.
Because if you're in the
Because
city,
Jeremiah ran when Pharaoh came, right? He ran away because the siege stopped. Jeremiah ran away. When Cestius came and then Cestius backed away, he was troubled. Why? It has something to do with Pharaoh also, right?
And lots of people today, they're so confident that they will not break the Sabbath. But they are there, they're succumb in the city, they're there. So
Yeah,
how
what
can
if your livelihood is already involved? Like you can't work, I mean, they will, you can,
Yeah.
what can you do in the city?
and you can't buy.
And no more everything. So
You have to eat your own children,
Right.
So, you
so
have to
everything.
So
Yeah.
there will be a time God give a sign to come out.
When
to
Pharaoh
obey
comes,
Sabbath.
when Pharaoh comes, and then the siege will be broken. There's going to be a temporal. It seems like it's a respite
Yeah.
out of the siege. You know, there may be a little time where it seems like the
And
time
they are
is
from the east.
getting better.
And they have relation before with Egypt, where they came from. So you know what is going on.
Yeah. So you understand that this is going to be. They're going to be troubled,
The trouble.
and we know it's going to be
That's
Islam.
our time.
Yeah. This is.
Escape,
That's when you have to
because
escape.
they are troubled.
But no, that specifically is for the Levites.
Just for the Levites.
But for those who are in the city,
Yeah.
but what for us, we're already out of the
We're
city.
already out.
We have to be out of the city because where are these people who are living in the cities at that time gonna go to?
To us.
For those who have prepared and helped them out, right? Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. So you have to have a big land in Goshen, right? Okay. All right. And that is
Lord will provide.
a more sure word of prophecy.